Welcome to Hebrew News, the here and now of biblical prophecy. We have breaking news today. The United States and Iran has declared war against each other. We have, according to Press TV, the Iran Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, known as the IRGC, has warned that it will firmly reciprocate the United States blacklisting of the elite force and teach the Islamic Republic's enemies an unforgettable lesson. So after the second day of the week, that was 4/8/2019, President Trump released a statement that Iran's army, a guards corps, is now considered a terrorist group. And this is the response that Iran gave to the United States. In a statement on the fourth day of the week, the IRGC said Washington's illegal, unusual, and unprecedented move indicated the U.S. deep grudge and wrath towards the IRGC. U.S. President Donald Trump on the second day, on 4/8/2019, released a statement designating the IRGC as a foreign terrorist organization under Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. The IRGC statement said the U.S. was blacklisting of the force was the latest in a series of the White House back-to-back failures in the Middle East, and added that the U.S. decision made the IRGC more determined to improve its defense and offensive capabilities. So they're getting prepared for war. So the trouble that Iran's been having with the U.S. has only increased them to make more and more weapons for defensive and offensive. This unprecedented measure would make the IRGC more determined to speed up the promotion of its defense and offensive systems and capabilities, as well as its regional growing power, it added. Now, Mike Pompeo was asked regarding the war with Iran, and this is what he said in his statement. He was asked if the administration was using the Congress 2001 authorization to start a war with Iran. The U.S. top diplomat said, "I prefer to leave it to the lawyers." The hawkish U.S. politician also repeated Washington's baseless claim that Tehran has ties with terrorists. And this is Mike Pompeo's response to that question. "There is a connection between the Islamic Republic of Iran and Al-Qaeda. Period. Full stop," Pompeo claimed, referring to the terrorist group behind the 9th Gregorian month on the 11th attack in 2001. According to the 2001 law, the country has the authority to strike terrorists who attack the United States on 9/11. So according to this act, they can fight anybody who was a part of the 9/11 attack. So if the United States puts Iran into that box of terrorists, then they can fight Iran according to that act. Paul suggests that the recent decision by the administration is falsely designated Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps, a foreign terrorist organization, is part of an attempt to prepare for war. In the post on Twitter on the fourth day, Zarif, this is Iran, released a video of the 2016 presidential debate between Trump and his rival, Hillary Clinton, during which he talked about Iran killing Daesh terrorists and said, "When the real Donald Trump insisted that Iran is killing ISIS, exactly who did he think was doing the fighting and making the sacrifice?" So this is Iran's claim that they were actually helping the United States, but you can't help your enemy. ISIS would have held 2 Arab capitals and fielded the terrorist army on Europe's doorstep had the IRGC not fought alongside brave people of Iraq and Syria. Shortly after the U.S. blacklisting of the IRGC, Iran's Supreme National Security Council slammed the U.S. government as supporters of terrorism and designated American forces in West Asia, known as the United States Central Command, or CENTCOM, as a terrorist organization. So after Trump designated or assigned Iran to be a terrorist organization, Iran went back and designated or labeled the United States forces in West Asia to be a terrorist organization. Now, the EU is still playing the middle ground. The EU is using Iran to the Tin Horns, is using Iran to fulfill the part of destroying America, and also the EU has their part in America as well. So they're playing in the middle, but everybody has their interests. French President Emmanuel Macron says Paris and its European partners are pressing the Trump administration to moderate the sanctions it imposed against Tehran after withdrawing from the U.S. from the Iran nuclear deal. Macron made the remarks in a phone conversation with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani on the third day of the week at night. He said France and its allies in Europe are seriously pursuing the implementation of all their commitments under the 2015 deal with Iran, vowing that they would do their utmost to encourage the U.S. to ease its bans on the Islamic Republic. France is closely monitoring the regional developments and will do its best to secure Iran's interests under the JCPOA, he said. Macron at the same time highlighted the highly significant roles Russia and China could play in this regard. Now, that's the words coming from Macron in the EU and France. But we're going to get the fullness of the story once we read the statement from Iran. Rouhani, this is the president of Iran, for his part, called for accelerated and effective implementation of the Special Purpose Vehicle, the SPV, introduced by Europe within the framework of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. He said both sides of the important deal must fully implement their obligations so that Iran would be able to reap the legitimate economic benefits of the JCPOA, because obviously Iran's about to go to war with America. They can't continue using American currency for trade. They have to have the SPV to stand afloat to do trade with other countries. So you can see Europe's hand in it, because Europe has a hand whether Iran stays afloat or whether they fall. Despite living up to its commitments, Iran has not yet seen any considerable practical move by the other side, Rouhani said, highlighting 14 reports by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN's nuclear watchdog, confirming Iran's compliance with the nuclear deal. So Iran has been trying to play everything by the book. They've been trying to do everything according to the nuclear deal, the JCPOA, but Europe has not came through with the SPV, and the United States has pulled out of the deal. Donald Trump announced in the fifth Gregorian month last year, that he was quitting the JCPOA and restoring Washington's anti-Iran sanctions. The first round of the bans was reimposed on the 8th month, and the second round was imposed on the 11th month. The bans impact millions of ordinary Iranians whose lives are directly threatened by the U.S. sanctions. During the recent floods across Iran, the sanctions kept Iran from receiving any foreign financial aid to assist flood-hit people in many parts of the country. So America stopped, by their sanctions, they stopped flood relief from going to Iran, which is just leading Iran further and further to get to the point that they are now by declaring war against America. And Iran has not only considered the United States forces in West Asia a terrorist group, they considered all of United States forces a terrorist group at this point. Now, biblically, let's understand, because we have to give you the here and now biblical prophecy, and how these things that's going on in the news and these things that are happening in world events are actually tying to the Bible. We're going to look at Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17 through 22. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Iran is the Medo-Persian Empire. So Ahayah is stirring up the Medes. He's stirring them up for this purpose, to destroy America as part of prophecy. And Iran is not going to regard gold or silver. You can't buy them off like you buy off all the other countries, like America buys off all the other countries. You can't buy them off like they bought off Egypt and Israel and America behind taking down Morsi as their president and putting Sisi in power. If you're familiar with Egyptian policy or political electoral presidencies. So just like they pulled a coup to get whoever they wanted in power, because through money and through the different benefits that you get from America and from these European countries and even Israel, they're able to control your state or your country. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Alahayim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So if you don't know who Babylon is according to the Bible, you can refer to the lessons on Hebrew readers, and Babylon is America. So you can get the edification. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. This is how we know it's not talking about ancient Iraq, because people still live in Iraq. This is going to be a new land that's going to be completely, utterly destroyed, where nobody's going to be able to inhabit it. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and the dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Ahayah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. So this is all Ahayah's doings, to raise up the spirit of the king of the Medes to go against America or Babylon. For his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Ahayah and the vengeance of his temple. Now, to get understanding, we have to understand, why is Ahayah stirring up the spirit of the Medes to go against America or Babylon? What did Babylon or America do that brought such a great wrath from the almighty Ahayah unto America? Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 24 to 31. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith Ahayah. Now this is key, and this is very significant, that he said what they have done to Zion. That lets you know that there's something that America has in their country that no other country has predominantly, where they've afflicted somebody or done something wrong to somebody. And as we know, America has the children of Israel in their country, and they put them in slavery and bondage. So And all the things that they've done to those people, it's going to come back to them. This is why the wrath of Ahayah is coming unto them, because they're reaping what they sowed. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Ahayah, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith Ahayah. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Mini and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her, and cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow. For every purpose of Ahayah shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed. They become as women, and they have burned the dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end. So you can see the prophecy regarding America, how the enemy is going to come to America's territory, to their land, and it's going to start wiping through and taking over their land. One messenger is going to run to another, saying that this land has been taken over, this land has been taken over, this side of the country has been taken over. America has never been touched on their soil as far as a war, because we know that the 9/11 attack was a false flag so that they can start warring and start fulfilling prophecy. But America has never been touched on their soil as far as a war, and this is coming to America. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 46. Jeremiah 51 41 through 46. How was Shishak taken? And how was the praise of the whole earth surprised? How was Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The sea is come up upon Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. And the seas are nations, people, and tongues. So these are different countries that are coming against her. Her cities are desolation, a dry land in a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth. Neither doeth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Baal in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. And the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. It's interesting because it tells us one of the deities or the powers that's over Babylon, and it also shows us that they're going to build the wall. They're going to complete it, but it's going to fall through war, and that's going to be a great sign that Babylon has fallen. It's when that wall falls. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of Ahayah. Ahayah is warning us that we need to leave America. Don't stay there. It's going to get really bad, and you see the end goal of what's going to happen at the end of Babylon's defeat. He said, do not be a partaker in her plagues. The people who have an ear and have eyes to see, get out of America as soon as you can, because everything is on the brink right now. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. We also have Jeremiah 51 and 58. Thus saith Ahayah of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burnt with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. All this labor that they're doing, trying to keep people in the borders of America, and also to keep the people that's trying to come in America out. It's going to be them building that wall is just fulfilling prophecy, because the wall has to fall and people's labor has to be in vain. So I pray that everybody has edification as to what's going on, and America and Iran have declared war against one another, and prophecy is going to be fulfilled. Peace be unto you all. Shalom.